Hello and welcome to Kramer's Corner with technical update on equities. Today I will have a look at the Magnificent Seven. Some of these seven equities or stocks, they will report earnings this week, and then of course the technical picture can change a little bit. But it is also crucial to know and identify support and resistance levels before they are actually broken, and which they could be after the earnings report. But let's see about that later this week, and then we can do another update. Some of the technical pictures on these stocks can also be further confirmed after earnings. So let's see about that also. But today we'll start with, we take them alphabetically and also starting with Alphabet, the C share or Google, as you can see here, formerly known as Google. It is trading in a sideways range between 160.81 and 170.41. It is crucial for the Alphabet share to break out of this range for any direction. And for looking at the RSI here, we can see we are in a positive sentiment. If it does close above 60 threshold, it is likely to break above 170.45. This level is very crucial for the technical picture on the medium-term trend, as we can see here. The medium-term trend, if it does close above 170.45, the uptrend has been confirmed, and the uptrend is resumed also, and it will be further confirmed if RSI closes back above 60. There's no RSI divergence for the on Google here or on Alphabet, meaning that if it can take out 170.45 closing above, then there is a potential to new all-time highs. If it, on the other hand, takes out 160.80 and closes below that level, well, then the lows here around 115, just below 150 or so, they can come under pressure. And this rising trend line here that we can see on the weekly medium term can also come under pressure. Moving on to Amazon, that is on the shorter term picture on the daily, seems to be forming kind of a triangle-like pattern. It's not that textbook perfect, but what we can see here is RSI is still in a positive sentiment, didn't break below 40 after it was above 60. If Amazon closes above 191.52, the RSI is likely also to close above 60 threshold, meaning it will confirm the bullish breakout and confirm a bullish trend also in short term. It has continued, and the previous peak here at 195.37 is likely to be taken out. Here on the weekly, which is the medium term picture, little bit undecisive since we do have RSI divergence. We can see lower values, but we had higher highs here on the actual share price. But if it takes out the previous peak there at 195.37, well, then we are likely to see higher levels. We are also likely to see the RSI on the weekly closing above 60 threshold. And if it does close above this upper falling trend line, then it will also be in a confirmed uptrend, despite still being in divergence mode, but it indicates that it could be cancelled. And this is what you can do. You can draw trend lines also on the RSI easily. It sometimes gives you a better picture. Key support 179.85, where we have the 200 moving average on the daily coming up. If it takes out that, well, then we could see a downtrend being established, but there is really strong support where we have both the 100, the 55, and the 200 moving average coming up, giving some support. Apple is forming, and let's just zoom in on the daily because I think it's interesting to watch. Apple failed to take out its all-time high. I think it just spiked above it, but it didn't close above its all-time high. But the highest close was nevertheless here back last week at 236.48. It is forming what seems to be a rising wedge pattern. If it does break barriers out of it, meaning if it takes out the lows there from the 23rd of October at 227.76, then we could see a correction possibly down to 240 214.60 level where we have some support. However, if it closes back above and actually closes with a new higher highs, well, then there could be further upside potential for Apple towards 253, maybe even 262. So that are the levels that you should look out for here the next couple of days. Meta platform, well, or the former Facebook, found some support, and let's just zoom in there again also on the daily chart at the 38.2 retracement of this uptrend here, just around 561.94, 562. If it does close below, well, then I think we'll see a push down to around 542, 536. However, there is still positive sentiment. There's no divergence on the RSI. You can see the peak here corresponds nicely with this peak close here. So there's no divergence, there's no imbalance. So if we get a push higher where the RSI is also closing above 60 threshold, we are likely to see Meta closing also above 603, which is the previous all-time highs, or very close to it at least. On the weekly or medium term, we are still trading in this strong medium-term bullish trend here. The rising trend line is supporting that, but if it does close below, then well, that could come into question whether that can continue. There is a little bit of divergence, as you can see, actually quite a lot. We can see these values here are significantly lower than these values over here, meaning we are in a stretched uptrend, at least medium term. But again, market can be in showing imbalance or divergence for quite some time. We need to have a top and reversal pattern in place for the market to turn around. But let's see here, 562. Keep an eye on this level. That could be crucial, at least on the short term. But I think it will bounce higher, but it needs to be confirmed. Microsoft, well, it is trying to keep its bullish trend. It is still in a bullish trend. However, the RSI is not that convincing, being rejected at the 60 threshold twice. It is actually showing negative sentiment after closing below the 40 threshold, but it has bounced off and from levels around just above 400, and we are also closing above the cloud. So there should be upside potential, but it is a little bit fragile, I would say. If it takes out this lower rising trend line there, well, then there could be some really trouble ahead. And if it takes out 408, well, then another or a more crucial pattern could emerge. And look at the weekly, what's going on here. I have put shoulder, head, shoulder question mark up here above the chart. So that could be a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder over here under development. It is not confirmed yet because down here we have what we call the neckline. It is really rare that we see it being almost horizontal as it is here. But if we do get a close below 388, well, then that shoulder head shoulder pattern will be confirmed. If it takes out the peak here from a couple of weeks ago, and we can actually just draw a trend line, horizontal line there at 441.85. If it takes out close above that, well, then there is no shoulder head shoulder pattern, and we are likely to test the previous all-time highs. Moving on to Nvidia, which are not reporting earnings until sometime in November, I think around the 19th of November or something like that. All-time highs here within the past week or so, still holding on above 140.76. It is not a strong support in any means at all. There's more key that it holds itself above 128.74. It is a little bit stressed, as we can see here also on the weekly chart, and let's just zoom out so we can see it properly. I mean, we have a new high close on weekly last week. So it is a confirmed uptrend. However, there's massive divergence on the RSI. But again, remember that divergence can go on for quite some time. And I could see that Nvidia is pushing towards the 160 level, which is the 138.2 projection of this correction here. What you can also do, you can also measure it in another way. Say, okay, we have a triangle-like pattern here, triangle-like pattern, and from the distance from the top to the bottom, you can measure that by using, for example, where are we, with the arrow here. That is just 100% of it. And what you can say, well, from the breakout price and up, well, then we are up in the almost 179 level, because as a rule of thumb, you can travel the same distance after the breakout as you did from the top to the bottom. However, if we add the projection, Fibonacci projections, which we have done here, then we can also say, okay, one thing is this correction, and then we project it out. But we can also say, well, the breakout distance could be a little bit different, and we can then add these levels here and say, well, it will probably only travel this distance of 61.8 after breaking up to 61.8 of this downtrend here, which will be around 156. But targets are not important. Targets are by no means important. It is stops that are important, or your exit strategy, because targets, I mean, let the profit run and cut your losses. And let's remove this one. And so how will this picture be demolished? Well, first of all, if it takes out 128.74, that could be the first key question, but it has to break below and close below 113.26. And then moving on to Tesla, which we all talked about last week a couple of times after it closed back above the key gap area here, after it actually indicated lower levels, and suddenly some news with cars sold and all came out. It has been pushing higher. And as we can see here on the weekly chart, and I think that is more interesting to look at the weekly chart, we can see it's pushing towards these peaks here, and resistance level is closed above this resistance here, and now we are also very close to close above at this level here, as we can see at 271. At close above 271, well, it leads to a test of the peak area and resistance area here around 313, 314. I think that scenario will play out. We are in a bullish trend, confirmed with the close, higher close, taking out these levels there, and also the RSI, despite showing a little bit of divergence. I think that will be cancelled with a push higher. For Tesla to totally demolish this picture again, it needs to close back below 234.25. Then we are back to, you can say, neutral, and then we need a different approach and look what's going on there. All right, that's all for today. And now you have also been witnessing my test of a new recording system. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will probably use this more in the future. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day. Talk to you again later.